Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be jumping into OP13. Our first kind of look at some OP13 stuff. We'll have more coming in the future, including a pre-release guide for all those who are going to a pre-release event. But today we're going to be checking out Zoro Sanji, the blue-green Zoro Sanji, or Zanji as its nickname is. Why is it not called Zoro or Zoro or something like that? Why Sanji? Now, Zoro Sanji has been seeing some tops in some of the bigger Western events. Hasn't won anything, but has seen some tops. And we have noticed there are kind of two different versions of how the deck kind of plays, a supernova or more of the East Blue kind of build, which you saw kind of more popularized towards the close of the OP12 format here on the English side of things. We're going to take a look at the list I currently have been playing around with testing for the OP13 meta. We'll jump into some games, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts on this current deck list. We'll do an updated one once the set officially drops here in the Western side of things for us. All right, here we are with the deck list. We'll jump into the leader's ability. For those that don't know what this leader does, basically Don times 1 when attacking once per turn, you can return one of your characters at the cost of 2 or more to your hand, and then you can restand one of your other characters with 7,000 power or less. So you can get some multiple swings going on with this leader. Very good to be nice and aggressive, but also a way to be aggressive with something like a blocker, be able to restand it. The options are kind of endless when it comes to that, but you are limited by the cost and the power that you can bounce back and restand. Now let's go over the cards here in the list. So searcher that we have here is Perona, 1 cost. I'll look at the top 5. Search for a slash character or a green event. We're not running any green events currently in this one. You might want to look at maybe putting a Dead Man's Game or 2 in this list, but otherwise you're going to be searching your slash type characters. The other searcher that we are running, just running 2 copies of it at this point, is the Kid and Killer from Starter Deck 24. This one is an on play, look at the top 5 for a supernova type card. On your opponent's attack, you may trash this character, set one of your Don cards as active. That effect is not going to be relevant in this kind of build here. Might be relevant if you want to add in some of those Dead Man games we spoke about before, but otherwise got 6 searches for the deck. Now running 6 searches, I know traditionally this deck runs 8 searches, especially if you're leaning more into that East Blue or more into the supernova side of things. This one is kind of a bit of a blend with those 2 lists. We'll kind of go over those things that I'm talking about in a moment, but for now 2 Kid and Killer, because yeah, it's going to whiff more than the Perona. The Perona is going to search majority of the deck. There are some cards that the Kid and Killer is specifically will help you find, and also some key pieces that it will bottom deck for you. So which is why I'm not running a full playset of that. Now, other cards allow us to draw. We do have 4 copies of Vivi, 3 cost, 2k power on play. If your leader is multicolored and you have 5 or less cards in your hand, you get to draw 2 cards. Insane. You can bounce that back with your leader multiple times, play it out. Fantastic to have access to that card. And the other card that helps us with some draw is we're running 3 copies of Cavendish. So this is a slash attribute 1, can be searched off the Perona, is not a supernova, so cannot be searched off the Kid and Killer. This one is when attacking once per turn, draw 2 cards, trash 1 card. So great way to kind of filter out some cards you don't need for a certain matchup, or help you get rid of some bricks, try and find some more counter, or try and help you find some other key cards like the Vivi. Now, the board control cards that we have, we'll start off with 2 copies of Sugar. So Sugar, the only relevant effect here is on play, you can rest something with a cost of 4 or less. So 2 cost character can be bounced back with the leader, can be replayed, help you rest a lot of things. Really good into a lot of blockers when it comes to this meta. In particular, that Marco running around with the ace, really good against that. Now, the other board control cards that we have, we're running the removal Fishman package here. So 4 copies of Vanderdecken, 4 copies of the Arlong, which the on play for this one, you discard a card, 1 rested character or leader cannot attack next turn. Really good. Triggers also rest something with a cost of 4 or less. And the other thing to help us proc the Vanderdecken, because the on play for that is you ditch a Fishman and then you get to KO something that's rested. So you can pitch the Arlong. You can also pitch the Harchan, which is your other main target for that. Now the Arlong and the Harchan are both searchable off the Perona. The Vanderdecken is not searchable off either of your searches. So just keep that in mind when you do use your searches. You want to know how many bottom deck, but your draw power cards and your Vivi and your Cavendish are very good in helping you find all of these pieces. Now, this package is really good into things like your Ace or your Zoro or your Roger, the kind of the big ones in the meta. It's not good into Emu, because Emu has that built-in protection for all of their characters. So that's the only matchup that this package is not good into. But you'll see as we jump into some games that we generally don't usually have an issue going into Emu, and this package is more for those other matchups. Next up, we have 3 copies of Koshiro. So this is a blocker that will give protection from KO effects to your slash attribute characters with a cost of 5 or less. So really good for mainly your VVs and your Cavendishes. They're the cards you want to protect. They're the cards you want to reuse over and over again. Now, the rest of the cards in the deck are all about kind of spamming out characters, restanding some Dons so you can play out more characters as well. So first of all, full playset of Mihawk. This one on play if you have 2 or less characters. So that includes himself when he's played out. So basically, if you have 0 or 1 character on board, you can play Mihawk out and get the effect, and then it allows you to play a slash attribute character rested. Your main target is going to be your Cavendish. You can also roll into the Arlong, and then a couple of these other Zoros here might be useful. We'll talk about them in a moment. Actually, talk about the first Zoro here, because this one's actually not a bad one to play. The on play is if your leader is a Straw Hat, which Zoro Sanji is, you can set 2 of your Don cards as active, so basically becomes a 2 cost out of hand. Or if you play with the Mihawk, it basically becomes a 1 cost to play the Mihawk and this out. The end of turn effect is it can set itself as active. So very, very good. Will always kind of be protected, can only really be KO'd by some sort of removal, not going to be KO'd in battle because it's always going to restand. Full play set of this one. Now the other Zoro here, which doesn't fall into this category of restanding some Don, this is just a blocker, which can stop itself from being rested by its effect, is a 2k counter as well, which is really nice. The effect is opponent's turn. If this character would be arrested by an opponent's effect, you can rest one of your other characters instead. So great way to just have another blocker. Now we have Law. So this is a new Law from OP13. 6 cost, 6,000 body. Becomes a blocker if you have 1 or less life. So early on, it's not going to be super useful when it comes to that blocker side of things, but the on-play effect is nice. You can bounce back one of your characters to your hand, regardless of cost, which is really good. So you can recycle things like the Peronis, the only card that can't be recycled off your leader's ability. Really good to recycle off Law. The other part of the effect is then you can play a character with a cost of 5 or less from your hand arrested. So you can play everything out except for itself and the Luffy, which we'll talk about in a second. So you can play the Zoro out, restand a couple of Don. You can play this Cavendish out to be able to swing, get some draw power. You can also use leader's ability to restand the Cavendish if you have some other targets on board, or play out the VV to be able to draw some cards. Also in a desperate situation, might be able to play the Mihawk so you can kind of get 3 bodies out with that as well. Next up, we are running 3 copies of the Secret Rare Luffy from OP13, 6 cost, 7,000 body, built-in double attack, absolutely insane. On play, if your leader is multicolored, you can set 4 of your Don cards as active. Then you cannot play a character with a base cost of 5 or more during this turn. So when you play this out, you can't play the Law, but you can play everything else out in the deck, which is absolutely insane. So playing this, restanding 4 Don becomes a 2 cost. You can play this out. That also becomes a 2 cost. For 4 Don, you've played 10 Don worth of characters and you still have some Don spare left over. Absolutely insane. And then finally, the last cards in the deck here is our kind of ace, anti-ace sort of stuff here, is putting 2 copies on play. Your opponent shuffles their entire hand into the deck and draws 5 cards. Yeah, really good against ace because that deck loves to have a giant novel-sized hand. Alrighty, game number 1, we're going against Emu, probably the big bad boy of the meta right now. We are choosing to go second. This hand's not great. So let's mulligan, see if we can find a Mihawk, Cavendish, VV, some sort of combination. Oh, we do find a Mihawk and a Cavendish. Very nice. We also do see a Koshiro, which is really good because that will protect our bodies from some KOing effects, which Emu definitely has access to. So they went searching, they grabbed their 5 elders, the big boss monster of the deck where this deck really flourishes. So we're just going to try and get some good pressure early, see if we can win before they get that big boy out, because then it definitely becomes much harder. So we'll go with the Koshiro. We'll pass over to our opponent. They're going to go grab a Mars off the effect there. That's the one that will KO something with 5 cost or less. And then it's going to swing 6 in at us. We will take this one, going to another 2k. So 4 Don here. So this is probably where we're going to go a Mihawk into Cavendish. We can then attach a Don to leader, swing 6, bounce back the Mihawk, restand the Cavendish. And our opponent gives us a 2k for that one, and then we'll just pass over to them. So this is where you can start using effective stage and lots of stuff, get some bodies out on board for cheaper. So play out the Warcry, the one that will draw them a card on KO. We'll counter out the 6k swing with the Mihawk. We will grab a Arlong off the draw. So 6 cards, so 6 Don to work with here. First of all, let's just see what we get off the Cavendish. This is probably going to hopefully give us a better plays than what we have access to right now. Probably Arlong is the best one we have right now after this. I'll grab 2/2Ks. Okay, not too bad. Here, ditch Kid and Killer or Vanderdecken. This is probably where I make a misplay. I do end up ditching the Kid and Killer. We probably want to ditch the Vanderdecken here because the Vanderdecken is not live in this matchup. Everything's going to be protected by effects. So yeah, we get rid of the Kid and Killer. We're going to have to play out a 2-cost body here anyway because we don't want to bounce back a Koshiro. So yeah, would have been better to have the Kid and Killer in hand. Our opponent ends up taking that hit, which is good for us, getting them down low. So here we're going to play out the 2-cost body, playing out the Vanderdecken. So out he goes. We'll attach 2 Don onto leader. We'll swing 7K in at their leader. We'll bounce back the Vanderdecken, restanding the Cavendish. And then we'll be able to get a 7, or probably an 8K swing. Use that extra Don in at leader after that. So they take this swing. We'll attach that Don. We'll do that 8K swing and see if they want to give us a block, or they give us the counter event. So they go plus 4K off that one. So they play out the Mars, which then KOs the Koshiro, which could have been the Cavendish, which is good for us. They're going to swing 9 in at the Cavendish. We'll just give a couple of 2Ks here to keep that Cavendish alive. We'll be able to recoup those cards quite easily. Draw into another Cavendish. So we got 8 Don. Once again, probably Arlong is the best play here. So maybe let's just once again see what we get off the Cavendish draw. That's why this card is so good. So we'll attach a Don, we'll swing 7, we'll draw a 2K and a secret rare Luffy. So we'll probably ditch the other Cavendish here because we don't need that. The secret rare Luffy is not a bad play. They do take that life. So maybe go Mihawk into the Arlong here, bounce back the Mihawk, restand the Cavendish. And then pitch, guess maybe the secret rare Luffy. So leader cannot attack. We'll attach 2 Don. We'll swing 7 once again. We'll bounce back the Mihawk, restand the Cavendish. See if they want to give us some counter for this one. Give us a blocker. They give us a 2K and a 1K. And then we'll swing another 7. See if they want to give us another 2K, 1K or a blocker here. And then we'll just leave those last 2 Don open as a bit of a bait. We could have swung a bit more, but they did give us a few cards in counter. So they were probably always going to block that one anyway. Also, this is the one that gives Rush and minus 2K. I can never remember its name. Ethan Baron Nasjuro. I don't know which one you're going to go by. But they're going to swing 6 into the now 4K Cavendish. We'll get out of this one. We'll go 2K and a 1K. Keep that alive. See if they're going to swing with that other blocker. Also the blocker, not the other blocker. Swing with the Mars, swing 6K again, 2K, 1K, easily get out of that. And they're going to play out the Top Man, Warcry, another blocker. So they've got 4 cards in hand, 1 life, 1 blocker. We might even be able to scratch out a win here. We'll swing 7, drawing into 2 bricks. That's not nice. We'll probably get rid of the Cavendish because the Arlong can be used to stun something. So they take that one and it's a trigger to go searching. So now we will swing 9 with the Arlong and then we can go 9 with the leader, restand the Cavendish and swing 9 with Cavendish. See if we can get a win off of that there. So this is going to be blocked. Draw cards. So 6 cards in hand. We swing 9. It's going to ask for at least 3 cards in hand. And then they'll have 3 cards left if they have optimal kind of counter for it. See what they give us. They're 2-2 and a 1. So they do have optimal counter, swing 9. So they could just have enough to get out of this. We probably won't die next turn though anyway. And they don't have enough to get out of anyway. So game 1, done. Okay, game number 2 is going against Green Zoro, Mr. Consistent from the previous set. The only top meta deck that seems to be hanging around right now. We're going second. They played a Hiyori first. We'll play a Perona. Arlong's good in this matchup, but we probably want to go with the Mihawk, just have extra counter in hand. We do have a Arlong in hand already. We can reuse that Arlong multiple times with our leader's ability, so we're not too stressed there. So we go with another Perona search, probably grab the Hachan here because the Vanderdecken is going to be a live option when it comes to this matchup. And then we do have 2 searches to deal with their Hioris. Maybe they might play another Hiyori here on their 3-Don turn, so we can just get rid of them both quite easily. So great for us to see double Perona there. They play out a Perona. See what they're going to find off this first Perona. They grab a Cavendish. pretty good card. They're going to searching off the Hayori. See what they grab from this one. They grab the 2K Mihawk. So a lot of Mihawks going to be seeing this game probably. Going to swing 2K in at us. We will probably counter out this one with the Mihawk. Try and stay healthy early on against the Zoro. And then it'll be over to us. First thing we need to do is take care of this Hayori. Get rid of that. And then we could go Arlong into the Cavendish here, or we could go Arlong into, Mihawk into Cavendish, Mihawk into Arlong. Arlong does stop them from doing anything really next turn. The Cavendish, if they play we'll swing 5 first of all while we're talking here. If we go Cavendish play, they could Tashigi, attach 3 to leader, and then swing 8 at the Cavendish, which could counter out, but we go with the Arlong here. Maybe been better to go with the Cavendish play. We'll see how things go though. See what they want to do with the 5-Don. Maybe play out the Cavendish they have. And then got 2-Don left over. Maybe go search with a Perona or Hayori. That's probably optimal plays for them at this point. They go a Mihawk into a Zoro. So restanding 2-Don, 4-Don left over. Do they want to go searching and then maybe swing 5 or maybe swing 6 with the Perona? They go searching with the Perona. I still maybe think Cavendish might have been an optimal play. We definitely know they have that card. So interesting they didn't play it. They go Aquina. And they're going to swing 5 with a Perona now. So we'll probably just take this one, go into a VV, which is actually really good for us. So we will first of all just try and get rid of this Perona. They let that go. We can just straight away go into a VV here, draw a couple of cards, which will do that. We have 3-Don left over. Or we draw into a Sugar. Sugar's actually a pretty good card because that can help us deal with the Zoro that restands itself, because it's literally the only way we're going to try and interact with it, because that thing's always going to be active at the end of the turn. So maybe let's do that. We'll play out the Sugar and then we can get a 6K swing with the Arlong, 6K with the leader, and then another 6K with the Arlong. Hopefully it's dead by then. If not, we're definitely going to have asked for at least 3 2Ks out of their hand. So play the Perona. We'll start with play the Sugar, start with a 6K swing in at the Zoro. See if they want to give us a 2K here for this one, or maybe a couple of 1Ks. I don't know. So they end up giving us a 2K here. We'll swing another 6. We'll bounce back the Sugar just because we have another VV in hand. So we're not too concerned if that VV gets arrested and swung into. They let it go this time, so we'll just swing 6 into lead. And they take that one, and then it'll be over to them. So here they can go like a Tashigi, attach some Don onto lead, be able to swing a big amount into an Arlong here. So Arlong's probably going to... Oh no, we'll probably have enough counter to save the Arlong. We just don't know if we want to use the Vanderdecken or the Heart Charm because they're just great cards to use later on. Okay, they end up playing the Cavendish, which we knew they had. So maybe no Tashigi's in hand for the Zoro player. Restanding 2-Don, got 4 left over. I'm going to swing 2 in at us. Maybe see a Queen of them. We know they have a Queen of play. Off that search, they added a Queen of to hand. Queen of play is probably not right English there. They're going to attach 1-Don onto the Mihawk here. So they're going to swing 5. We'll probably counter out of this one because it's probably going to be an 8 into Arlong and an 8 into life. So we'll ditch the VV because we know the VV we have on board is safe. They're going to swing 8 here into the Arlong. We'll save this because we want bodies on board against Zoro. So we'll go 2K in the Mihawk, and maybe we'll go the Sugar here because, yeah, we want to keep the Vanderdecken to KO some stuff later on. They're going to use their leader's ability here. So Zoro is being restored. They're going to swing 8 at us. We'll take this one, going to another 2K, which is nice. Life has been treating us well here. So let's start by swinging 2K into the Perona. If they count it out, we would have swung another 2K with the VV because we're going to bounce back the VV to hand anyway this turn. Now we've got 8-Don. We can play the Zoro, which will cost 2. And then we can play a Cavendish is another option. Or we can just play Cavendish, bounce back VV here. Well, they let the Mihawk go from the Arlong swing. We'll attach 1. We'll swing 6, bounce back the VV, see if they want to take this 6K swing. And then we'll probably go the Cavendish into the VV, just to get some extra draw power going on. I think that would be a pretty good turn for us. So they take this life here, which is once again not complaining when Zoro is taking some life. Get them down to that 2 as quick as we can. We'll swing another 6, see if they want to give us a 2K, 2 1Ks, or take another life. They take another life. Okay, maybe they're bricked up there. So we'll go to the Cavendish, into the VV, draw another couple of cards. Drawing 2 bricks, that's never exciting. See what our opponent wants to do with this turn. So they're going to have 2 extra Don with the Cavendish available to them. Once again, we know they have a Queener in hand, so that could be played. A Tashigi's probably going to be really good for them here as well. Establishes 7k body while resting our Cavendish, being able to swing a few times into it. Well, they play the Queener, so maybe they just don't have Tashigi's. This must be rough for them. So they're going to attach 3 to lead. They're probably going to swing 8 with the Cavendish, I'd say here. Or they're going to go searching, or they grab Dead Man's Game. Maybe if they didn't have Tashigi's, if they had the Searcher, maybe that would have been better to go the Search first. Because then you can still establish the Tashigi. But yeah, Dead Man's Game is what they grab. So they are attaching 2 Don, swinging 8k into the Arlong. Look, probably one of these characters is dying. And the Cavendish might be better to save, but let's just at least just save the Arlong, because they're probably going to attach all those Don, swing 12 in at the Cavendish, which would require 4 cards out of hand to save and would stop us from KOing Cavendish with the Hachan, that sort of stuff. So they're not going to attach all Don. They're going to just go for 11k swing at the Cavendish. We'll just let that go. We do have another Cavendish in hand, so we're not too concerned. We can play that out next turn. And they're going to swing 11k in us. We will take that no trigger off the Arlong there. Nothing for us to rest. And now, first of all, on our turn, we just want to get rid of this Queen. So we're going to swing 2. Once again, we can swing with the VV because the VV is going to be bounced back into hand. Now we can play the Arlong to stun the leader, which means we won't die to restand events next turn, which would be very good. And then we have the Vanderdecken and the Hachan to get rid of the Cavendish. So we can probably just swing in at face here to try and chip away at their hand size, maybe hopefully get them down to 0 life this turn. So let's just establish a big wide board as well. So let's play the Secret Rare Luffy, which will restand forward on, make it only a 2 cost, which is just beautiful if you ask me. Then we still have plenty of Don for a Arlong and a Vanderdecken play. So we'll start with a 6k into life. See what they want to do. We know they have the Dead Man's Game. They want to use that. They may have a 2k counter in hand. Hopefully they don't have a 2k counter. Hopefully they give us some 1ks or take the life. That means they're going to be really bricked up if that is the case. So they'll end up taking this life. So this could be the world's biggest bait. They have a massive hand size, and us attaching a bunch of Don to lead, restand the Arlong, attaching a bunch of Don there's probably going to cost us the game if they get out of it. So it's probably better for us to be safe. So we'll swing 6, bounce back to VV, restand the Arlong. They give us 2 1k, so maybe they are really bricked. Or once again, maybe they're still just baiting us to try and go all in with the Arlong and not take care of the Cavendish, or if they have those restand events, they're probably going to win. So once again, being safe is the better option. So we'll just attach 1, swing 7. This is probably going to be a perfect Dead Man Game amount for them. Yep, they do give us that Dead Man's Game going up to 8. So then we will play the Vanderdecken, pitching the Hachan, getting rid of the Cavendish, and then play the Arlong, getting rid of the Cavendish to stun the Zoro. I said Cavendish a few times in that sentence. So we're basically not losing this turn, and we're probably going to be able to push for game next turn with the amount of swings that we have available to us. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 swings at least to us. Could attach them to the Prono or the Vanderdecken, get a 6th swing in there. So they go Hody Jones. Looks like they're just hoping that we are bricked up in our hand here. They know we have the VV, so they know we have 1k counter. They just don't know what else we have in hand. So it's going to be a 5 and an 8. I'm going to swing 5. We'll counter that with that VV. And then they're going to swing an 8. And we can counter out of that as well. So Then our opponent just concedes. Oh, they did have a few Tashigis in hand. They did have a Law and a Koshiro in hand. They could have blocked it up and tried to survive another turn. So yeah, but either way, we end up getting the win against Zoro right there. Alrighty, game number 3. We're going against Ace. So we're kind of hitting the trifecta when it comes to the big topping decks of the current format that we're seeing right now. So we are going first. Our opponent is choosing to go second. We go into a Perona, grab the Mihawk because we need some counter in our hand desperately. Also allows us to open up to some plays in the next turn or two. They go searching with the Garp, find the new gates. That's the big blocker new gate, the new one. So here we cover a couple of options. We can go the VV, we can go the Mihawk into the Cavendish, but Ace being a 6k leader, us having not too much counter in hand is probably not going to be smart. So let's go a Mihawk into a Zoro, restanding to Don, which will let us search with a Perona. So we'll go that first, and then we'll see what we find. Probably want to grab the Hachan here because the Vanderdecken is going to be live and is also 2k. We'll swing 6 in at lead. Could maybe bounce back the Mihawk just to have extra counter in hand. Maybe that would have been better for this turn, but we choose to keep it on board for now. So they swing 6 in at us. We will just take this one here. Maybe if we had that Mihawk, we could have countered out of that one. We end up drawing to a Mihawk. And then they play out the Marco blocker. Card's absolutely fantastic for them in this deck. So we're on the 5 Don here. So we could go Vivi, 6 with the Zoro, 6 with leader, 6 with Zoro here. Probably what we can do. We could also maybe get an extra swing in with the Mihawk if we don't want to draw. We'll go 6 first of all. 6 with lead, which is a misplay here because we have to bounce back the Mihawk, which means we have too many cards in hand for VV. So we can't VV. And then we can't really do anything else here. So we're going to swing 6 here. So yeah, it would have been better to play the VV first, or if we want to have an extra swing in, swinging with the Mihawk before we bounced it back. Because yeah, just 3 dead Don right now. So that turn was definitely not optimal. They blocked the Marco, got some extra draws off it. So yeah, that turn could have been worlds better. They're going to swing 6k and us. We'll counter out 2k for this one. Yeah, play the Jozu, bouncing back the Zoro. So great turn for them there. We draw into a pudding. That's probably the only good play that we have this turn right now because we don't have access to any draw. So let's just reduce the hand size to 5, and then we'll probably just swing 8 in with leader here. No other players that can be had for us. So we will do that. Other thing we could have maybe done is played the Law into the pudding, bounce back to Perona just to establish an extra body on board. They use leader's effect and a 1k to get an 8k swing. So once again, might have been able to be a bit more optimal that turn. They play the Yamato, they attach Don to leader, swing 7k in at us. We'll go 2k and a 1 because they could just load up on the Jozu here and go for another swing. Or they don't. So either one of those, we're going to take 1 and count out of 1. They go with the Garp and they grab another Jozu. They go into an Izo and grab the new gate number 2. That must be the 2k vanilla one, the red one. And then it'll be over to us. So we can Vanderdecken that Jozu away. It's probably what we want to do. We could go the Law into the Vanderdecken, which will give us a target to bounce back. Because currently we don't have one. Because we would probably want to swing in with the pudding here as well, just to get some extra pressure. So that's probably going to be better. Attach a couple of Don, swing in the pudding, and then play out the Law into the Vanderdecken, KO the Jozu. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll attach the 2 Don onto the pudding. We'll swing 6. See what our opponent wants to do here. When they use their leader's ability, counter out, take a life. They use Izo's ability, first of all, draw a card, bottom decking a card. And then they use leader's ability to get out of that one. We'll play the Law, bounce back the Perona, play the Vanderdecken, use the effect. We'll ditch a Hachan, get rid of the Jozu, and then we'll attach a Don to lead, swing 6, bounce back the Vanderdecken, restand the pudding, and then be able to swing again with the pudding after that. So our opponent counters out of 1k, we'll swing another 6. They counter out of that one as well. So down to 3 cards in hand. They're on 10 Don, which is always scary. So they could play out their big blocker new gate here. If they have the event, also becomes cheaper. And they can also choose to buff themselves as well with the event. So first of all, they're going to swing 7 in at us. We will probably take this one because we want to keep the Vanderdecken and the Hachan to KO some stuff here. So we'll take that. Arlong, which is not going to help us at all, does give us an option to stun a leader. So they do go the I Am Whitebeard event, play out the new gate, take a life to buff themselves by 2k. New gate buffs themselves by 2k. So 10k leader is just ridiculous. And yeah, we'll take that one. And we draw into a Perona here. So this, this is not looking super fantastic right now. We know we can probably use the Arlong here to stun the leader. We can use the Vanderdecken into Vanderdecken to get rid of the Ezo here. But let's probably go with the Perona first, see if we can find another blocker, which we do, the Law, perfect, because that way we can play the Law into the Arlong, still have a couple of Don over for the Vanderdecken as well. So we'll play the Law, we'll bounce back to Perona, we'll play the Arlong, we'll use the effect, we'll ditch a Cavendish, stun the leader, and then what we can do is, because we won't have enough Don to swing in at lead at all, we'll just try swing into the Law here, try and bait out a card from hand. So they end up taking the swing into Yamato, which means we don't have to use the Vanderdecken. So we'll just attach a Don to the leader here, swing in at their giant leader just to restand our blocker. And then we'll probably go double search with the Perona, see if we can find some extra 2k. So we'll bounce back the Pudding to restand the Law, and then we'll go searching with the Perona. And we can find a 2k with the Zoro as well as the Mihawk. So 2 options for us there. So we'll grab the Zoro just because it can double up as a blocker if we need for a following turn. And then we'll go searching again with another Perona. And then we do find another Hachan, which is good as a 2k option for us here. Now, our opponent's turn here, they're probably going to swing in with the new gate, 10k, and then maybe play the blocker new gate here. Or if they have another one of the 9-cost new gates, that's probably even worse for us because then it becomes an 8k body. If they have another event, even worse again, 10k body again. So they're going to swing 10k in at us here. So our options are we can go 2-2-2 to get out of that one. We can also go block 2, 2, and a 1. Maybe not go a block in case there's some sort of rush body here. They obviously don't have the big Roger available to them. Otherwise, they would have played that out here and we probably would have just been toast. Our opponent ends up conceding here. See what they've got in hand. They had the blocker new gate, but they did also have another 9-drop new gate, and a Rad Beam. So yeah, that's probably going to be enough for them to clinch it because the 8k body, leader's ability can ditch the new gate. They have a Joju to counter out. They have a Rad Beam to counter out, and they also go into a 2k. Yeah, they're probably sitting pretty even with us having a bunch of swings there. 8k body is just hard for us to deal with this late in the game. And there is, I guess, an early look for us on the English side of things for the OP13 Zoro Sanji. You guys in the Eastern side of things have had this for a couple of weeks, so I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on the deck list, on the gameplay. I know that last game probably could have been a lot better played. If that middle turn there was a bit more optimized, we might have been in a better position come at the end of that game there. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Stay beautiful, and we'll see you all in the next one.